Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Eurotrade. I'm Marcus Stalker D, and I've been trading for 18 years. And yeah, I specialize in precious metals, energy markets, DAX here and there, but we don't have DAX, so that doesn't matter much. All right, so let's have a look at what copper is doing. We had a pretty strong push overnight. And right now we're seeing that typical pullback that London Open likes to do. I have a few levels of interest that are kind of here at the moment. GEX 1 at 590, and then also a put support which might be fairly interesting at 589. Now we have to have a look at some statistics when we are trying to get involved in pullbacks, and typically copper tends to do about 4 red bars on average on a 30-minute chart before it starts to turn around. So I'm kind of seeing a little bit of disparity here in regards to the levels that we're at and the fact that we still don't have those 4 red bars. So might be worth actually waiting for that to happen first, and then maybe we can look to find some longs with this mad trend up that copper has been on. Maybe somewhere between 584 and 582 roughly, because that's where the next strong levels are. In regards to shorts, I'm not too keen on shorting this before we get to COMEX, and then if they fail the auction, perhaps we can have a look at some mean reversions. Let's have a look at super large time frames. Now, I was tracking this, and I still am tracking this on a very large time frame, monthly time frame, to see how they're going to behave into the end of the month. Because for the last several years, every time they made a new all-time high, they would make a selling wick on the monthly chart, and then pretty much the entire month after, you would have a very, very nice pullback. Maybe a few days here and there, but obviously then we look at intraday conditions. Now we're pretty far out from that line that I was looking at. So for all intents and purposes, I would deem this to be a breakout unless we have some huge smash down and we end up with an extraordinarily large wick down. Probably wouldn't be looking for this to be my guide now because things have changed, right? But I'm still watching it. I'm still watching it because on the slightly lower time frame, weekly, we're still seeing a similar thing. So all-time high, then a big pullback. All-time high, then a big pullback. So, whether they're going to do that again. Obviously, we have tariffs, which may have changed the underlying perception of copper supply and demand. And that could mean... Oops, hold on. One of my dogs just decided to switch off my screen, so let me deal with that for a second. And I don't even see OBS now because it's on that screen, so that's great. Thanks, Leonard. Just give me a minute. Right. Whoops. Okay. Oh no. All of my screens are messed up. Right. Oh god. Okay, what have we done? Let's see. Alright. We're back. Dogs, eh? They just they create problems. Alright. Where was I? Yeah, so daily chart, just up and up, into the right. Again, copper 50% tariff. So not too surprising. Now, 4-hour chart, I don't know, I would deem this to be setting up for a bit of a range. But again, it's very early in the day, so we have to be a bit careful how we approach this. 1 hour, weak-ish reversal. So again, more of a pullback than a reversal in this case. So what do we have on the profile? Profile today, it's attempting to go down. So we exited the initial balance to the downside, and we're looking for how the price action is going to behave around this put support. So it is possible it's going to fail the auction here, but like I said, because of the stats of average 4 bars on a pullback, I just wouldn't. Yeah, I would like to wait and see what that does first, and then if we get some kind of commitment below the initial balance, maybe that could be a setup. But again, London recently has been pretty directionless, bar a few days. You know, most of the trending action has been happening either in Asia or for COMEX, so not the best time of day for this. I am tracking DAX on my other screens to see what's going on there. But that's still inside the initial balance as well. So upward skew though, upward skew. It's an equity index, so we'll see how we can maybe take advantage of that somewhere. Yeah, so not much to say on, not much more to say on copper. Let's have a look at maybe platinum. I'm going to use this second chart here. Platinum. Again, starting on a massive time frame to have a look at what's going on there. Very wicky. Again, uptrend, but I don't know, they've been a bit strong on the selling the last couple of days. Daily chart, sorry, weekly chart, attempting to turn around. We still have a couple of days before the weekend, so this could change. So nothing to see there. Oh, daily chart looks messy. I don't like it when I see these inside bars for trending markets, because it's kind of like haphazardly going up, and this is generally pretty tough to trade if you're looking for nice smooth moves. Last 3 days though, nice drop. Is that going to continue? Remains to be seen. 4-hour chart pretty committally down. When did that start? It started well, actually it started yesterday, but then Asia did not very much, and then tried to go up again. That Eurex fake out, they've reversed it, and then now they've come down all the way into some options levels, but they're not that strong. I would prefer to see copper down somewhere around 1420, maybe between 1425 and 1420. That would be like the first zone for any longs, but you know, whether we're gonna get that, I don't know. We'll see. What do we have on the 30-minute chart? London Open firmly below the initial balance here. Do we have any strong levels here? Let me just have a look at where the value areas are, but I'm guessing they're all higher up. Yeah, the only thing I've got sort of ballpark around here is 1430 average session range London low, as well as a swing extreme that's also further down, and that also kind of puts me onto that 1420 level as well. So yeah, one problem with London is that with platinum, whenever we get a pretty sharp move down or up, they kind of stop after 1 or 2 candles, and then there's no real follow through until COMEX kicks in. So unless you're looking for tiny moves, you know, you can grab like 30 to 70 ticks here and there, but to me on platinum, because it's such a fast moving product, that's not much. To me, that would be a scalp on platinum, grabbing 70 ticks. And why? Well, because we have average daily range of over 400 ticks at the moment. That's a lot. And there's no micros in platinum. Bryant is saying platinum approaching an upward trend line from last month. Yeah, I mean, in trending markets, things like moving average on like a 5-minute chart can show you pretty decently where maybe to get in, because it is an instrument that trends quite a bit. But look at it on a 5-minute chart. It's like completely gone sideways now. So maybe if it pops back up to, I would say 1450, so all the way up here. That's a strong options level. I don't know whether you were watching yesterday when Jack was talking about how much zero DTEs are now affecting the overall volume, and ES has gone up to 61%. I mean, that's a bit crazy, right? Because, you know, it's all, that's not institutional investors. This is where the problem is. It's like all retail traders who are maybe coming into this with dollars in their eyes and playing zero DTEs. And yeah, they, you know, I think if you don't look at those levels, it's going to be kind of difficult to figure out what's going on. The markets have changed quite a bit from COVID even, because we didn't have that. And I think one of the reasons why crude oil has gone so non-committal is because there's so many speculators in there with smaller positions. It's not really allowing the price to move any particular way unless you have some sort of commercial hedger stepping in, and then you will see those trending days. But they are like few and far between. So me and crude oil are not on speaking terms at the moment. Like very, very occasionally I might do a scalp on crude oil, and then usually I'll take like between 7 and 10 ticks, and that will be it. So yeah. DAX still kind of stuck in that initial balance. Let's see if they want to exit. I mean, I would kind of like to short DAX, mean reversion D. But right now it's so glued to the VWAP from Globex. It's like there's no imbalance there to be had. So yeah. Interesting. All right, let's have a look at GC. So gold had a jump off a cliff yesterday. Let's start with super large time frames as always. Just delete these because these are levels from yesterday, or I don't know, 2 days ago or something. Maybe even a week ago, whenever I was last trading gold. Right, so this is a range that I marked a while back from the monthly chart. We're still deep inside the middle, middle of the middle. And, you know, this price action on the monthly, like once we do get trending moves, on the larger time frames, I don't really see any trends here. And this smells of summer, unfortunately. Usually, you know, back in the day, I would actually take second half of July and the entirety of August off because it was so quiet. Weekly chart also a bit messed up. Chopping in a range. Still that same range. Nothing to see there. Suppose you could call it, I mean, can you call it distribution when most people who trade gold with reasonable size are away? And they will be away. Again, looking at Dome, pretty thin on the contracts, considering the gold usually likes to hang around 30 and 40. 30 and 40 contracts per price. But now we've got 4, 3, 8, 11, like nobody really of any note that we can look into. Four-hour chart still trickling down. The volume dropped off a little bit yesterday, obviously after settlement. Now it's picking back up. And what do we have on Delta on gold? Let's have a look. Just like intraday delta. Is it going up? Is it going down? Anything to read into that? 457 positive. It did come up since the London Open. So at the moment, delta is positive on gold. We did have a put support level that was almost kind of to the tick at 3370. I think it kind of missed it by one tick. So it's possible we might go down to retest that. One thing I'm not liking on gold today on intraday is that we have a 0 DTE puts from last night at 3385, and then also a put support from larger options expiries at 3370. But yeah, retest of that level is probably the highest probability there. Let's have a look at the 30-minute chart. And quite obviously, we're probably going to be quite far away from values. So let's have a little glance. Yeah, so it's miles away. Literal miles away, Christ. So London value up at 34.35. Yeah, that's not useful today. Comex value a little bit closer. Not too far from settlement. Sitting around 3,400. 3,400 is GEX 1. So if we have a creep back up there, that could be a decent area for further shorts. So yeah. Derdeb says, buy gold. Well, I disagree with that because I think we still have unfinished business there at 3370 today. Flyer Jim says, good morning, D. Can't sleep, so thought I would tune in. Thank you. Good to see you here. It's been a while. I know it's a little bit early, so I appreciate you being here. Coach Carter, hey D, I always enjoy your content and sharing your knowledge. Please, can you up the mic volume slightly? I'm as up as I can be without distorting. It's just, it's a bit early, so, you know, my voice is not the strongest for my speaking voice anyway, so don't think I can push it without jeopardizing the quality of it, so, yeah. And I don't feel like shouting today. Yarden says, Maiden was 400 on MGC last night. Yeah, if you're awake and can trade Asia. Asia has actually been really smooth. COMEX has been a bit messed up, especially on equities. I know that a lot of people are struggling. So Yarden said, I showed it on the open, expected to pull back to 33.77. I noticed this level is just above a big volume shelf and it has a tendency to visit those. Yeah. High volume nodes. I look at them kind of like supply and demand areas. BC says, D, I can see you being a singer of a punk band. Yeah, well, I was a pop and rock singer. I actually had a rock album that I was working on at one point. I had a song called Dirty Habit. And I did all the guitars and everything, so maybe I should have that as my my intro song, because it's me, like I'm the one who owns it, so it wouldn't be a copyright problem. Might speak to someone from Topstep, maybe ping Danielle or something. Yeah, you called it, definitely. Alright, DAX not moving at all. Right, copper. Let's go back to copper for a second, because this put support seems to be kind of trying to turn around. I don't know, it's all a bit non-committal. All a bit non-committal to me. See, one thing I don't like seeing intraday is a lot of wiki candles that are very, very wide. And if I look at the one on a 15-minute chart here, that's that's a basically a whipsaw of about 60 points, 60 ticks. It's a lot. And then we had another huge rejection of a candle that went for like 90 ticks. That's this one here. Got the initial balance marker here, but if I move it, you'll be able to see it. So yeah, those are indicative of thin markets. And the problem with that is that if you're going to use, let's say, even a 45 tick stop to try and capture most of the move, like let's say this could be a failed auction now, can I limit my risk here properly? Probably not. Because in order to respect the structure, I would need about a 60 tick stop, and that, maybe we can do a micro. So we don't get too smacked in the face if it doesn't work. Let me have a look at bookmap for a second on copper. Yeah, we had some exhaustion of buyers right at 590.70, so that's doesn't spell great for longs. Yeah, let's see, and let's chill, and let's just see what they want to do here. Yeah, it's all a bit wicky, bit kind of summer price action that's a bit odd and difficult. Yeah, second part of July is probably my least favorite time of the year to trade. Yarden says, copper seems to hold VWAP from yesterday's highest volume candle, 5 minute. Yeah, but again, it's holding VWAP, but again, it went below VWAP quite a bit. Because, this doesn't look like a big move, but if you measure it, that's 40 ticks whipsaw through VWAP. So that means either low liquidity and, let's have a look at the full copper contract, what's going on there. Yeah, I mean, this is thin. When they're pretty active, institutional traders, that you will see like 15, 20, 11, it's not the thickest market, obviously, it's still a thin market, but at least you don't have like 3, nothing, 1. This is why we have whipsaws, right? It's because when even a slightly bigger position comes in, like let's say somebody comes in with a 5 lots, they're going to take, let's say they want to sell it. They're going to take not only 90 and 89, 89.95, they will just skip over the empty prices and take the next opposing side because they have to find a counterparty for each order. And effectively that's what we want to see as an imbalance. But when it's thin, anyone with slightly bigger orders, they can just come in and wipe out a good portion of the order book. And that's why you get these like whipsaws in the summer. And you see, it's like, is it a failed auction? Well, we've just had some more selling coming in. So I would say this is just random walk and uncommittal move to the upside. And if anything, maybe shorts would be on the cards if we can get below the initial balance again. We're sitting right on the nose right now. So we have this put support, that needs to break down. VWAP right there, that also needs to break down. And for longs, every time somebody tries to buy it, somebody else comes back and smacks it down, so... Holy smokes, Batman, what happened to gold? Well, overnight, I'm not seeing anything like all massive. Just one sort of drop right before London, which is not unusual to see in gold. Gold yesterday fell on the news that EU and US are nearing the completion of the trade deal for 15% tariffs. So obviously equities went massively up. Gold sold off like a mofo. So yeah. Mike A asking me an IT support question. When will the account reset / creation issue be fixed? I don't know, man. I don't work in IT support. You know, maybe we can ask one of the trading ambassadors. So yeah, maybe Bruno knows. Can we ask Bruno? Do you know anything, Bruno? How do I add two charts on Topstep X? Okay, so you see this button here, it says select layout. You click that. Now, as a default, you would just have one chart. If you want to add 2, 3 or more, you basically just select the layout that you want. You can put them side by side like I do, or you can put them one up, one down. You can add 3 of them. You can add 4 of them. You can have them in this sort of a layout, so you know, pretty nifty. Right, Bruno says no ETA at the moment. So there you go. We found out something new. BC says, I considered only trading micros for pre-market and minis during the first 2 hours of NY Open. I would think you should do the opposite, because the New York Open is more volatile, so you need to size down. Otherwise, you'll get a very painful lecture when you're wrong, right? If you're wrong. But yeah, it's... yeah, I would say pre-market you can size up a bit. Not a lot. And Yarden is right. What size accounts? I'm trading 50K, trade only micros. Yeah, that's the right way. Trading a mini with a 2000 drawdown. Right, we're sitting right underneath. So let's try a little combine thing to see if we can get something out of this, just to get a feel for what's happening. Maybe increase this to 45. See if we can get some movement below the initial balance and through this put support. They might struggle a little bit here whilst they make a decision. For now they're failing. I mean, they're just chopping in between put support and GEX1, so... And I'm seeing more weakness than anything else. Delta is falling, minus 133. It started off kind of positive. What time was this? It was just before I started this stream. It was still mildly positive, but it's been falling ever since like sort of 7:45. That's like 15 minutes before London. And they haven't really made an attempt to go higher. So that also makes me a little bit suspicious of longs here. I mean, look, I would like to be long copper. I would like to, but I just think this is not maybe the right area yet. So yeah, let's see. With a 50K account, what should be my DLL? I mean, it depends on your style, right? And depends on your experience level as well. If you are fairly experienced and you believe that you, like, especially if you're one of those scalpery types that has maybe higher accuracy, maybe you can trade with, like, maybe allow yourself 400. But again, if you are struggling, if you are somebody who has never received a payout, if you've never even passed the combine, I would divide the maximum loss by about 10 and then make that into a daily loss limit. So that would be 200 per day. And then just fit in the number of trades that you do into that. So, you know, everybody trades differently. You know, some days I will trade 3 trades, some days I trade 1. Other days, if it's a more range-bound day, I will do, you know, up to maybe 13 trades. So, yeah. Right, just reading through chat here, guys. Ball 8 is here. Yes, I need to get back to you, Paul. I've just been trying to sleep as much as possible, so I haven't exactly been on top of my emails. But I did read it. I'll reach out to Danielle to see whether we can get you in. So, just let me in what day suits you. Any day apart from Wednesday, because obviously we have Jerome on for Wednesday. You know, I'm here Monday through Thursday, so. Yeah, so let's have a look at some other things. Natural gas. I think natural gas is interesting recently. Let's have a look at it from larger time frames. I don't know what this is, so let's get rid of that. So, huge chart. No, that is the wrong thing. Someday, guys, someday I will get it. Right, 1 month. I mean, we're coming into an area of demand. We're in the summertime, but there's been some news that the demand for natural gas is lower this year. I don't know whether it's maybe not too hot in the Midwest or what's going on, but for whatever reason, natural gas yet it does not have sort of the upward bias that we usually see in the summertime seasonally. My screens are playing up. Okay. Right. Where was I? Just Flow, thank you for answering that question. Yeah, just skipped over it. Jan says, find a way to get rid of that annoying leaderboard thing. Settings, privacy, turn off leaderboard. Right, okay. Didn't even know that's a thing, but hey. Okay, Tuesday or Thursday most weeks. Okay, awesome, Paul. I'll work on getting us a day when they approve, so we can come and chat, maybe do a couple trades or not, seeing as it's July. So yeah, is there a possibility for natural gas to pump back up from this area? Yeah, for sure, but it's not yet visible on this massive time frame. Today, the Widowmaker is doing its Widowmaking thing. Yeah, it fell quite a bit. I did notice that Asia and London have been doing a lot of the heavy lifting. So, do I have that gap on my charts? Let me see. That's interesting. Because on my CQG charts, I actually have this as a full-on red candle, so I don't know whether it's... Is it a new contract? Ah, it's a new contract. Okay, hold on. Yeah, because we've just gone through a rollover as well, so... NG... Yes, that'll help. No, I still have a big red candle, so... Is there a refresh on this? No. Okay, never mind. Anyways, obviously opening way down, but that's probably a contract adjustment. That could be it as well. Daily chart, what do we have? Nothing. We have new lower low. So no evidence of reversal, but you know, natural gas has this nasty habit of going one way for London, and then if NYMEX is going to be quite active, you will then also see very quick reversal that just kind of keeps going up until about 9 a.m. Central. Then they either pause or they completely reverse it. So it's a very double-sided product, like most energies markets, right? You have every energy market does that. You have crude oil, heating oil, gasoline, and natural gas. All of them have a very, very similar behavior intraday. So yeah, 4-hour chart. Let's have a look. Now we still have the same sort of put support level at 310. Hold on. I'm just looking at the options. No, it's not a put support. Today that's a GEX 1 level. So that's pretty far out. And where are the stronger levels? Alright, so 3 evens on this contract is the put support. 3 evens. So, you know, if you see evidence of continued selling, wouldn't be too surprised if we get down to 3 evens. Let's just place a little marker there. And from the options levels, that's also a projected 1-day volatility. So for any longs, maybe if we get to the last half an hour of NYMEX, that could be something. Four-hour chart looks a little bit accumulaty. Is that a word? That's the first time frame where I'm seeing any sort of potential for a turnaround. But yeah, this could be just out of hours movement. In about an hour, hour and a half, you should see a bit more life coming into natural gas because it's pretty dead for this time of the day. I mean, look at it from literally from the end of Tokyo. We've not done anything. So it's chopping in a 16 tick range. That's out of hours. So, you know, maybe wait a little bit later to get some life. Mariano wants to know, can you look at platinum? I did look at platinum. Was that today? Did look at platinum. I said platinum been on a bit of a pullback, obviously following gold, right? But yeah, 1420 would be an area where maybe they'll stop. If they don't stop there, I would be looking at 1400 as a continuation to the upside. You know, if just in case they start to turn it around, wouldn't be too surprised if we're up at 1450 again, where I would expect at least some shorts to engage. So yeah, those are some of the levels. And then if they go into an outlier day, just complete scream to the upside because it's platinum. 1500, you know, I've seen it do crazier things. I've seen platinum go for like 1,000 ticks in a day. That's crazy. It's a thin market. That's why it's like just chops. Choppity chop, like sashimi. Just Flow say, today is a date to wait for the news later. Possibly. Let's have a look at the calendar. We have Euro refinancing rate. That's at 1:15 p.m. like literally just before COMEX starts. That's lovely. Unemployment claims, I mean, I don't know, they are kind of relevant, but it's not exactly NFP or FOMC or anything. If you're trading DAX and like Euro related things, we're probably gonna have quite a lot of fun. Is that how to describe it? Because we do have the ECB rate decision as well as a press conference. So that's 1:15 p.m. UK time, and then the press conference is 1:45 p.m. So, you know, DAX is going to be a jumpy bunny during that. So ECB rate decision is exactly the same like the FOMC rate decision. It is a super high risk event, but is that going to affect ES and NQ? I kind of doubt it. I've, you know, never really, like, it sort of moves maybe a little bit more, but you know, Europe is Europe, and usually America just doesn't really care much. It's like, you know, European release, meh. that's the general consensus. But on the flip side, when there's a FOMC rate decision, because the US is such a big country, everybody's looking at it, right? So DAX is actually very, very responsive during FOMC. And I would argue a little bit easier to trade, whilst it still moves a lot of ticks. So if I do ever, you know, trade FOMC, I usually look for, you know, one trade that would make sense in DAX. But I don't like trading rate decisions. Just want to put that out there. I don't, because, you know, they can pull orders and you can get stuck in a position. It happened to me. Still a very traumatic experience that lives with me. NASDAQ chart analysis. No, because I think that we have enough NASDAQ traders. Literally every Tom, Dick, and Harry on the internet is a NASDAQ trader. So you want analysis, you go to them. I don't trade NASDAQ anymore. Traded it 4 or 5 years ago last time. Probably 3 years ago, actually. Yeah, I think 2022 is probably the last time I was actively trading NASDAQ. It's gone absolutely insane and bonkers, and I'm too old for that shit. Just put it that way. Do you keep up with NQ at all? I mean, I have it on my charts, you know, obviously I'm going to look at it, but do I want to get involved? No. I literally have zero desire to trade NQ, because it's always... So look, whenever we are talking emotional control, and we spend the entire Wednesdays for, like, we've worked, Jerome and I have worked together now for what, 3-4 months, maybe even longer now, and it's you know, it's all about how are you behaving in a trade, like what are your emotions. And we even had Calvin, who is that we all know him from chat and stuff. So he was like, oh yeah, but we love trading NQ during the New York Open, with our hair on fire, like screaming and with our hair on fire. That's not how you're supposed to feel in a trade. You're supposed to feel completely calm. Whatever's happening, whether you're losing, whether you're winning, first of all, you should not connect it to your self-worth. You know, there will be times when you epically mess up an account. There will be times. There will be times when you're absolutely smashing it. And it's always going up and down. It's never just one single trajectory, or now you're doing great and you're doing great and you'll never do badly again. No, it's an ebb and flow, right? Ebb and flow. So once you get comfortable with that, you're like, all right, a little bit of downside, a little bit of upside, a little bit of, and then maybe a Muppet moment. It's like, okay, fair enough. But, you know, this is why prop firms are great, because you can actually try again, right? It's not, and in many ways it removes risk to your own capital, right? Even if you mess it up. But, you know, people who are trading, the way they describe themselves in a trade, it's usually like, oh, I'm absolutely terrified, or, oh my God, this was so amazing, like on the other extreme of dopamine highs. And that's, to me, I think NQ just pokes in that fight or flight risk response. Sorry, fight or flight response, not risk, just this response. And completely make you lose yourself in that craziness, right? I feel like I'm gonna have a seizure every time I'm looking at an NQ chart, because it's undecided, right? It's like so speculative that it takes all of its candles are always wicky, and I hate that. I want, like, for example, if you look at this copper, yeah, there's wicks with summer, but generally they kind of go into a short on a 30-minute chart, and very rarely do they suddenly turn around and become longs. Suddenly it turns from a black candle into a white candle. Maybe if there's a news release or something, but in general, it's just not, it's not what copper does. It's a smoother product, right? And when you do have wicks, it's either super thin conditions, or maybe it's, it could be that we have news, so everybody's pulled orders again, thin conditions. But generally, if you're in a trade and you're just tracking it, it's a calm product, I'm a middle-aged woman. I don't want things that are like, like, NQ just feels like somebody is slapping you in the face like a million times a second. Not in trades, just like with price action. It's like, up and down, up and down, oh, up, down, up, down, 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 up, no, oh, yep, up and down. That's how I feel when I'm looking at NASDAQ. And I'm just like, ugh. No thanks. So yeah, I'm not going to be doing NASDAQ analysis here. So many people are doing NASDAQ. So many people. And I honestly think that 90% of those people shouldn't be trading NASDAQ. I got a lot of stick for that when I first started doing TopstepTV, which was like August 2023. So it's been a while. We're coming up to 2 years now. Can't believe that. And so when I said I don't like NASDAQ, I don't trade NASDAQ, everybody was like, "Dee, we need to get you over to the dark side." It's like, it's not like I haven't traded NASDAQ. You know, I traded it. I just don't like it. And then, guess what? All of the people who are trading NASDAQ are slowly migrating to ES. After like a year and a half, 1 year. Some people have completely moved away from NASDAQ and they've never been happier, But no, this fast price action and the how do you call it? Like when you're chasing something that's kind of appealing. I suppose it's an MP analogy, isn't it? Chasing the new shiny thing. That would be a pretty decent analogy. And then it turns into sour grapes because you realize that you can't keep consistency on it because it's too crazy. Consistency matters over everything, right? So, now that we have so many traders who are like, actually, I moved away from NQ, I'm doing much better. And like Paul H says, he's got two, he's got 2 years of NASDAQ, being NASDAQ free. He's got the badge. That should be a thing, right? 3 month NASDAQ free badge. Maybe I should do merch with that. So Sunny and in the Wild Trades are asking for DAX. Yeah, so am I. Been asking for DAX for over a year. I still don't have it. Flying Jim says, you got me off NQ and into metals like copper. Best thing I ever did for my trading. I actually use the function on X to block myself from it. Yeah. Me too. No, actually, I don't use that. I literally don't look at NQ. So yeah, I don't need to block it because I don't even pay for it. So yeah. I don't even have it on my live. So there you go. Paul H says, NQ brings in the TV audience because people love drama. Drama is not good for account maintenance. I agree. That's big truth there. Thanos, love and hate, thank you. Yeah, so you're not supposed to love and hate it. It's like when I'm explaining crude oil, you know, I have a love-hate relationship with it because I traded it for 12 years, then it went to shit, and now it's just a crappy product. It's like, used to love it, now I not so much, you know. Yarden says, I think 90% of people start with NQ. They're tempted by the possibility to earn a lot of money. Yeah, there we go. So chasing, you know, they think it's a get-rich-quick scheme. It's like, oh yeah, well, because this person on the internet is doing it, even though usually those people on the internet have been trading anywhere from like 5 years, 8 years, sometimes even like 15, 20 years. And they're like, oh, I'll grapple with NQ. No, you probably won't. You probably won't. And you'll probably just create a whole bunch of psychological traumas for yourself. Completely unnecessary. Paul H says, I have a take profit DLL on now, unrealized minus 500, not giving back more than that today. Yeah, awesome. Tori Mori says, this is a funny way to journaling my NQ trades. Yeah, yes. At least brings a bit of humor, right? Even if you mess up a day, at least you can have some humor about it, right? Don't over dramatize things, guys. Like these days, you can always try again. It's just one day. Try not to make too much of a loss, but you know, it's prop. I don't know. I'm kind of changing my mind over, you know, not trading with too much size and being super careful and trying not to blow accounts and everything. I don't know. Maybe I've got it wrong there, because I'm a bit old school, because when I started in prop, you were given, and it was 2013 by the way, you were given okay, you had 2 weeks on a sim, then they would put you in live, and they would give you like a startup capital of 20k. However, you only had a daily loss limit of 225 dollars per day, and there was no micros, so it was all minis, and really realistically you could only do one trade per day. So it would either work or it wouldn't, and it really kind of made you think, rather than clicking buttons all day, which I'll admit, since online prop came, I have found myself, I click buttons more on subpart setups as well, because I'm like, whatever, I can just get another account or something. But if I didn't have micros, and if I knew that I could only do one trade a day, I would probably only trade like the last 30 minutes of NYMEX, maybe 90 minutes. Like the highest probability trades that I have usually happen at that time of day. Certainly not London. London is like, for me, DAX is pretty good for London. The rest of it is all a bit sketchy. And you can see it on these streams as well. You know, I'm like sitting here waiting for DAX to come. And it's like, okay, another non-committal move. Sometimes you get trending days, like, for example, who said buy gold? And I said, no thanks. Buy gold? Did you buy gold? If you did, I'm so sorry. If you're going to buy gold, at least wait until the overlap or something, you know, until there's actually some evidence of a turnaround. But yeah, if it's going to turn around, it's probably going to happen somewhere from COMEX open in and around Euro close. So that's like your time frame to look for reversals. Otherwise, longing gold, where the person who said to long gold was going to do it, it's like catching a falling knife. Like, I don't know what they were saying. Actually, probably staring at a 5-minute chart, I'm going to guess. Just like an educated guess. Yeah, look at that. It's like, oh yeah, it's pumping. Let's buy gold. It's like, zoom out. Zoom out. Whenever I'm on super low time frames, I get myself into trouble, guys, as well. Get myself into trouble. Because I've got blinders on, blinkers on, as we like to call it. You know the horse thingies? And you're just like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. And then you see it on a 4-hour chart. It's like nowhere near a demand area. And you're like, wow, what am I doing? And you know, I'll admit, I do suffer from a fair amount of brain fog, whether it's like senior moments or what, but You know, there's no doubt that my brain doesn't work as fast anymore. It's okay, you know, aging. Shake Hughes says, D, you help me quit the NASDAQ too. I'm strictly gold and ES now. Bicep emoji, right? Me too. 0 to funded. Me too. Left all indices and currencies and stuck to gold only. Yeah, see, there is life outside of NASDAQ. Paul H says, what a difference a day makes. Just remember that and trade for tomorrow. Yeah, that's what MP is always trying to tell us. Trade for tomorrow, trade for tomorrow, trade for tomorrow. I mean, there are diminishing returns. You know, if you run the account to, you know, the last sort of 200, yeah, there's probably no going back from that. So you might as well start again. Flower Jim, I sold MGC at 33.73.3 and doing well. Yeah, excellent. Excellent trade. Lovely. Abdul Wahab, love to see it. Diane Green. Who's Diane? Who's Diane Green? Just a joke, but it's all the same name. Anyways, Diana, any version. Diane. It's all just the same. Green on the screen. Yeah, it's just a combine. I've been going through like 2 days up, then 1 day down, and 2 days up, then 1 day down, all throughout the last sort of month. It's been ultra annoying, so we'll see. Yarden says, I switched to trading only on a 15-minute in 1 day on 2 screens. I'm taking around 80% less trades. It really helped me. There we go. Less trades, more money is usually the mantra. And usually what most people find after many years of trying to... I call it grasshoppering. That's why I have my grasshopper hat. Should we do the grasshopper hat? Let's do it. Ugh. You know when you get to a certain age and you try and move and everything's like... Before, when I was younger, you would just jump out of a chair and you'd be like, what? And now you get up and you're like, ugh. Because everything starts to hurt. Let me try and do this properly, because last time I had the wonky grasshopper hat on, which was pretty funny. But let me see if I can get the eyes in the right spot. There we go. Is it right? I don't know. My hair is all bunched up now. There we go. It's a funny hat, this. I love it. If you don't know the story behind this, when I used to have my own prop, we used to make people wear this as a negative reinforcement technique. Every time they would like do about 50 to 100 trades and get themselves in a massive loss, they would have to wear it for a week on the tube, on the way to the office for 7 days. Well, for a week, yeah. Mariana says, let's give chat. Let's give the W in the chat for this. Yeah, a win for the grasshoppers. All right, copper trade still under that put support. Not really liking this wick yet again. Again, no smooth price action. Let's have a look at Bookmap. Okay, so the negative delta's pulled up a little bit. So it went all the way down to minus 179. It's now pulled off of that at minus 154, but still a little negative. Not overwhelmingly so, but still a little negative. So let's hope that grows. If we can get to, I don't know whether it's going to get to 83.75, but 85 might be decent. If it carries on through 85, which is the next kind of minor gex level, it has a good chance of even reaching 82. So then we're going to be in a pullback mode for the majority of the London session. But I don't know. London session has this nasty way of just turning around really quickly and then just going in the opposite direction. So yeah. Mariana says market's going to pump now just because of this hat. Yeah. Luckily I'm on a combine, so it's alright. Fire Jim says my grandkids will love it. Funnily enough, this is a children's hat. You can find it on eBay. It's what is it? Grasshopper costume hat. That's what it was. That's where I found it. So yeah, but if we manage to stay below 589, we should be okay, because put support is a pretty strong level. So when that breaks, that typically means that we're gonna fall to the next area of interest in the options chain, which is 585. I had somebody in the chat going during lunchbox trading the other day. They were going, but how do you translate options prices into futures prices? And I was like, what? I was like, it's futures options. Like the strike price is the strike price. Like what are we talking about? It's not the options price. It's the options price is one thing, and then there's a strike price. That's what relates to the actual futures market price. So that's the same. I mean, I get that some people don't do options, so it is a bit confusing. I'm not gonna lie. Like when I started looking at them, like I don't know, 15 years ago, I was like, okay, this is weird. But then I worked for a prop firm where they allowed you to do options, and that's where I learned a lot of stuff about how people, because we had some traders who were only doing options. They were not trading outright. I had this one guy who had a position on for like $500,000, and it went well. He was a big trader, so yeah, that was quite something. You know, you get into a prop firm, and I was never like a super massive trader. I did trade with size on crude oil and gold. So my biggest ever position in crude oil was 120 lots, and on gold was 180. But this was obviously back in the day with like prop capital. So they were also scaling up really aggressively. This is something that prop firms used to do. Like really aggressively scaling you up. You would have, you know, one good month, and they would immediately assign like 80% of that capital for the next month. And they're like, right, now you trade this. And it just kept going. So every month that you would do it, it was a little bit much, actually, very stressful. And then you got to a point where, you know, you're trading crude oil that typically even back then only had like 15, 20 contracts per price. So you're trying to fill a 120 lot position. And boy, oh boy, did I learn things. And why scalping with such huge size, it's just impossible. Like there's no way to do it. It's why I've kind of turned to some of the more kind of intraday swing type strategies. It's from that time, because I tried to do I tried to enter first with a 20 lot contract, so 20 lot position size, and I didn't know anything about scaling in. I didn't know, I was pretty green at that point still. Because I never traded with that much size until then, and I was like, okay, now what's going on? And tried to enter, and it rejected the order. So I was like, okay, that's weird. So I tried it again, and it rejected the order again. So I called up my risk manager. I was like, I have a question. And I was like, it's not filling my order. And he said, yeah, it's because on the dome, like there's not, like you have to find a liquidity pool that has enough orders there. They can't just plonk in a 20 lot order as and when you wish. And I was like, oh, right. And I need to fill another 100 after that. And he was like, well, yeah. And I was like, so stops. So what then? And he's like, well, now we're gonna, you know, you have to partial it. So I had to like partial it in like 5, 4, maybe 10 if we were somewhere. Yeah, and now it's turned around. You see? You see? This is the annoying thing about London. Okay. So let's get out of this. This is not what I wanted to see, because now put support is acting. See, it's a grasshopper head, Mariano. My orientation point there was we stay below put support. We didn't. So yeah, so much for that. Again, this is what's been happening, right? You sit down to trade in London and you're like, right, okay, so now we need to go below the initial balance and it would be great, and then it starts and then it just stops and nothing. So yeah, this is why I used to go on holidays in June. Sorry, in July. Oh well, that's annoying. Anyway, next. Paul H says, I struggle to set a take profit, opting for a trailing stop once I'm up more than the DLL. I know you said you struggle to take profits having come from swing trading. Your take. For intraday, I stick to either 2 or 3R depending on how big my stop loss is, and I try not to deviate from that unless we're doing the reversal from one of the big swing points. Now, copper, for me, we're just in an uptrend. And this was an attempt of us going in the opposite direction. Wanted it to see... There's my mouse. There it is. I wanted it to go all the way down to ADR low, or at the very least 85. So 85 or 82 were my 2 levels for longs. This is too high up for me. Too high up for me. So I'm going to stay out of that. Jordan says I have to go to profit on one MGC for 5 points and leaving a runner with target 33.55 and a stop at break even 33.74.5. Yeah, that's pretty far out. But I mean, break even. Why don't you just take profit? Because we're already at the 1 day minimum projected volatility. I would just take all of it. Never mind the break even. Yeah, the hat. The hat is what did it. Mariano called it, right? He said, yeah, now that you put on a hat, it's going to go up. And sure enough. Yeah, it did. So, yeah. James Hansen, I really don't like getting up at this time of day. Yeah, I don't mind it. I'm up anyways from like 8. I don't like trading at this time of day for these products. I will be very straightforward there. I like DAX trading for this time of day. Let's have a look at what DAX is doing. It extended the initial balance. Kind of chop it around. But again, it's going to chop around until the ECB. And we've got a little bit of time before that happens. Yeah, so this is what London does. And then it does a massive candle that requires a ton of risk. And then it just stops. This is a candle of like 75 ticks. So yeah, I'm gonna wait until LME opens because it's annoying. So yeah, Paul H, in regards to take profits, just have a statistically viable profit target and be happy with that. You know, usually 2R is very achievable intraday, very achievable, and yet just about stable enough that even if you fall to like 40% accuracy, you will still be in profit if you don't overtrade. But yeah, anything over that, unless it's a trending day, a bit difficult, frankly. Van Life says 81 ticks on gold. Yeah, nice one. Still holding. Okay, like I said, just be careful because we do have 33.65 as the projected options volatility. So if it keeps going, lovely. But and also 81 ticks on gold. Let me see how much that is. Yeah, I mean, to me, that would still be a scalp, right? So gold also has a crazy volatility of 417 ticks per day. So that is... I would be looking for 140 ticks, according to what I'm doing. How do you really use volume indicator? Just pure volume or volume profile? Because those are two slightly different things. And if it's just volume, I'm not the person to ask that. Coach Jay is. He's the volume guy at Topstep. I'm the profile person and the quantitative extreme person. So that's my jam. But yeah, if you're talking volume profile, we can talk about that. Even though for intraday I prefer market profile because it's got more resolution. Did you look at platinum? I did. Again, not something I trade later in the day. How is Nasdaq? I have no idea and don't care. Roger. Sorry. I'm not a Nasdaq trader, so you can look at DAX. That's as close as we can get to. So we'll look at what DAX is doing. Even though we have ECB today, so we do not want to do much. Okay, so we do have all-time high supply. I am absolutely itching to short this, but I know that shorting at all-time highs is not always the best idea, but I am a mean reversion trader, so when we go into kind of a horizontal move, that's fine. One thing I don't like about shorts is that yesterday we went above this previous high that popped into the same supply, so this is technically now a second test. And this could very well just keep going higher, especially if we get the news that the EU and USA tariff 15% trade deal is done. So that headline risk remains on the cards. And that's why I'm kind of being careful with DAX today. Four-hour chart. Again, looking a bit bull flaggish here, doesn't it? Because if it was a true reversal, you want to see the third candle at least closing below the open of the first candle here. That did not happen, so that's a bit sketchy. And bull flagging. On the intraday time frame, we do have a bit of a hole in the volume profile. So very possible that there is some scope on the intraday side of things that we might track through this hole. So if I just go like this, that's what I'm looking at. And then the thick volume is all the way down here at the London value high. Also quantitative extreme, that's a nice little confluence. 24,350 to the downside, and then to the upside, things get a bit sketchy. And why? Because we're at the all-time high. So one thing you can look at is maybe yesterday's high, because that might get revisited, and it usually frequently does. So yesterday's high was at 24 617. And then we have a euro close pullback. Into New York lunchtime. Man, this still looks short. Still looks short to me. But yeah, no DAX yet, so that's a bit pointless. BC says, do you have a trade NQ? I used to before it was batshit crazy. No interest in it, and I haven't actively traded it. I've done a few trades over the years, but since 2022, no, I have not done a NASDAQ trade properly. Like to look at it every day and then dedicatedly find a trade I'm hot. Sorry guys, I can't. It's getting pretty hot in this office. We're still in the summertime in the UK, so yeah. So yeah, I just don't like it. Don't think it's a good product for 90% of the people, and I am old, so. So yeah, volume profile or volume is the question. So far, no answer. What else do we have? Yeah, so another thing, just this copper. So it pumps, and now look at the price action. Stops. So if there's a true reversal, why are we not seeing smoother follow through? You know, so that's always a problem with London. Apart from DAX, like I'll be 100% honest with you guys. Apart from DAX, during this time of the day, like that, like 2.5 hours before LME opens, I've never been able to find any consistency. Never. So literally it's like, been trying for 18 years. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know whether it's because we don't have enough events, or whether, you know, obviously we have Eurex, but Eurex is like FTSE and DAX and Bund. Those are the three biggest products. These products, before London Metal Exchange opens, it's just so random. And I'm a stats person, so I'm very good at observing patterns. And every day, the only pattern that I would see is a scalp on the account of London Open or Eurex reversal. So it will be either or, depending on what you're trading. For DAX, it will be almost always the Frankie fake out. So Eurex tries to pump it one way and then London reverses it. But that's a scalp, you know. I don't do scalps for a reason. I find that if I start with scalps, that sort of immediately puts me on overtrading tilt. That is still something that I'm very wary of. Because I'm like, oh, I did one, maybe I can do another. And then the second one is not a high probability trade. So I'm like, oh no, let me try the other one. And I just start chopping myself up. So I'm not a natural scalper. And also because I traded with size, I know that if you get to over 50 lots in, like even in my thin instruments, even over 15 lots would be a lot of size. You will immediately start having execution problems. So scalping with size on a live account is not a thing. It's just not a thing, because you will never get the fill. And then if you don't get fill of the entire position, then you introduce skew into the risk model. So it's like, ugh, horrible. Do you think trading one asset is good for daily income? I think it's good for learning. Is it good for daily income? No, because there will be times. Right, I'm gonna go short DAX on my account. All right, let's see what happens. I'm short for 517 from 517. 4. Short 4, 517. There it is. So we'll see what happens. Only looking for 2R, so 45 tick stop, 2R, 24.426. Let's see if they can pump it a little bit ahead of the ECB. Just maybe some unwinding of positions. I mean, it's kind of sitting at the initial balance low. We have a bit of a cave in the volume profile, and also a gap fill potential down to the value high. So we'll see whether we can get a little bit of a better price action there. Yeah, remember, not a signals class. This is all just educational. We are not CTAs. I have Series 3, but I'm not a CTA. Just because I have a Series 3, it does not mean anything. It means that I passed a qualification and that I could be a CTA if I then register with the CFTC. But I'm not doing that because I'm not here to advise anyone. I'm here to share my knowledge and experience. I've been at this for long enough to know what's the wrong way of doing things and what's the right way. Risk of ruin, things like that. But, I'm not giving anyone signals. I'm just, I can be very wrong as well. So taking signals from anyone is a bad practice. And also, I have a long-term accuracy of only 43%. So I will be wrong a lot. So, don't come crying to me. Like Mo says, don't come crying. You will see me lose every, 2 or 3 trades. I will lose them. And then I'll get one that's a bigger one. And then it covers that, and some profit is left. So I just let the numbers work for me. But yeah. Yeah, even DAX is not exactly moving much. I mean, they're definitely waiting for ECB. But again, there's a fairly good chance that somebody's going to unwind some positions ahead of the ECB. And then maybe they'll unwind it and then run it back up. So that would be the logical thing to do things here. Let's have a look. What's Trading Nichols saying? Trading Nichols saying on Matthew, someone on Topstep Discord was very forceful about shorting NQ in early Asia when it was flat, and the previous night it faked up and down. Did exactly the same 2 nights in a row. Yeah, that's patterns. Matt Hughes says there was no Japan-US trade deal. It is a framework. There's no legally binding framework, no treaty, just political theater. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I imagine fireworks are used to buy time until political winds change. Yeah. TTV Bruce 3 says, I passed my combine account and blew it the next day. Yeah. So take that learning experience and learn from it. Learn from it. Yeah, Trading Nickel said that person was like, I have to short. Look on the 1 and 4 hour trend is up. I'm like, you're totally invalidating your argument. I know, it's funny, isn't it? It's like, but listen, Trading Nickels, I sometimes do that as well. And I'm like, a trend is up. I've got to short this. It's like, what are we doing? Like, sometimes we can be so irrational. Now, with this DAX trade, I'm not saying, oh yeah, trend is up, I have to short it. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that every time it sort of tried to get over VWAP, it's not doing it. I know there's a supply, there's ECB, usually there's some sort of unwinding, and it's sitting below the initial balance. So it's not like I'm totally going, yeah, trend is up, but I'm shorting this thing. I've got to short it. It's just something I've seen happen before. Might work, might not work, but whatever. Yeah, never trade flat. I agree. Flat is usually either accumulation or a dead market. So, you have to be careful which one it is. Content Hunter, is there a promo code? No, we don't do promo codes. We do educational content. We give you free coaching. We give you, so much stuff that we don't necessarily All right, DAX is making a move. And again, I wish I had this on Topstep. I mean, we're missing out on the entire Australasia and customers, because they all can't really trade. Like, all of people have like day jobs and stuff, and you can't expect people to be trading overnight to catch, you know, NQ. So a lot of people trade DAX, and they trade things that are moving for that part of the day. So yeah, this is a fairly decent move now. Again, you know, I have to do it on my account. Come on, Topstep, bring us DAX. Bring us DAX. Gonna go cry to MP. Please. Please, Michael. You're killing me. They give me DAX. Yeah. So yeah, so far, new lower low on the 30-minute chart. Let's see how it behaves into this volume gap. LVN, low volume node. Still another drop. Let's put a marker like I do on my streams. And I know, yes, we need to stay on Topstep, but you know, I've got nothing else to trade. Everything else is like flat as a pancake. Flatter than Kate Moss's chest. And yet DAX is moving, which is why I like trading it. So 24,516. $45 tick stop. Okay. So far, that's the advance. It's just a marker. It's a bastardized fib tool. I actually have something similar that I've set up here, but unfortunately on this one, the labels are just like either prices or whatever, so I would have to put 1, 2, like my R multiples, so I don't have to calculate it manually. Right, chat is lively today. Let's see. Okay. Just trying to catch up on chat here, guys. 0 to fun, it says even the best strategies only have a 60% win rate. Yeah, over time, definitely when you introduce entropy and a whole bunch of stuff. And yeah, that will, you know, that's even some of the best swing strategies, they only have like 30% accuracy. That's like more like hedge fund and position trading. But I mean, you know, if you can't keep your emotional edge, you're absolutely right, 0 to funded. You've got no chance at all, like nothing. So yeah. This is why it's funny when people are like, I have a 90% accuracy. It's like, okay, maintain that accuracy for a year and then we can chat through a whole bunch of things. I've also seen in Discord, like every time I pop in there, you know, there'll be a few people kind of criticizing me and whatever, I don't care. But they would be like, oh, Dee said if you're a scalper, you need 10,000 as a sample size. Man, I do 10,000 in a week. Completely twisting the words and not saying in a year. It's like time is a huge component for sample size. Huge component. If you have, you know, if you have, I don't know, 5,000 trades in a week, that's not enough time because that's just one market state. The whole point of a longer sample size, longer, not more, but longer, is to, DAX dropping nicely, there it is to have the time component through different market states. So how is it moving? Is it moving, you know, through high volatility, low volatility, like a whole bunch of stuff? It's like, come on. Trade Nickel says, I get 80s on one instrument here and there in 1 month. Yeah, I mean, I have periods like that as well. You know, I have times when I'm smashing between 70 and 85%, but those are outliers. They're not the norms. You know, there's something going on that is making my strategies work at a faster pace. And, you know, like tariffs, you know, I had a lot of fun during tariffs. It was amazing. But at the same time, some people hated it. So, you know, I kind of like semi-volatile markets where it's like it's still tradable, but it's not completely bonkers. It still follows the same structure, only you need wider stops. That's the only thing. Monkey Gamer 3510, like your username. Set 5 markets at a drop and made 3K with a buyback on all of them. It's better with more risk than leaving one market for a while. Yeah, I think that if you have enough experience, you can absolutely do... But if you're new, like, I don't think you're new, because that's not a comment by a new trader. Whoops, did we lose connection? Am I still streaming? Am I still live? I don't know. Just had a bit of a connection issue. Yep. I think I'm still live. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to see whether this DAX trade can get down to my target at 24,426. If not, if it starts to mess around, I will take it off. But for now, we have one set of single prints below the initial balance. So yeah, I was looking for a bit of an unwind, and that could be something to look out for ahead of the ECB. Let's finish with one last question, and then I'm gonna bounce. Shay Hughes says, "D, are there steps you mentally check off before you take the trade that you could tell us about?" Not really. I mean, at this point, I just know my playbooks, and if it doesn't look like one of my playbooks, I generally don't want to take the trade. You know, and I can maintain that kind of discipline for pretty long periods of time. Even if I have a bad day, I'm not freaking out. Mariano says platinum turned around at 420. You called it D. Yeah, I mean, these levels, you know, they're just extremes. That's what we look for. Yeah, so I don't, like, when I was still learning, you know, go back like 7, 8, 10 years. Yeah, I did do a whole emotional checklist. I would go to the gym for 2 hours to like get all of the trading gremlins out of me, to make sure that I don't have too many glycogen reserves in my muscles that will kick off the fight or flight response. I still wasn't entirely sure of my playbooks, but these days, even when I mess it up, it's either because the markets are not really directional, or they're too wicky, so therefore I'm trying to use smaller stops, and I'm, you know, I should be expanding the risk, but maybe I'm looking after the balance, somewhat trading the P&L, and then getting myself into trouble because I'm trying to lower the stop size, then I get knocked out, then I try again, then I get knocked out again, and then I'm like, well, F this, and then I just walk away. But, you know, I don't really... Like, let me put it this way. So I have various accounts. So even if I do badly on one account, I have, you know, another account where I'm like, okay, that one is locked up until a certain part of the day, so I can't even trade it, because I have risk tools that lock up other platforms as well. But they are expensive. Like, they're not... Topstep gives you all of it for free. That's a huge, huge plus for TopstepX. But some of the other platforms, if you want a similar thing, I think Ninja, you can kind of set a daily loss limit, but you can't set the time. For that, you need to have a third-party plugin by another provider, right? But all of it costs a fair amount, especially if you're still new, if you haven't done any payouts, and you can't really justify spending money on fancy tools that will help you, but, you know, you have to weigh the pros and cons. So yeah, it's nowadays it's just a matter of me. Did I sleep enough? Am I feeling okay? I do have days of hard brain fog, which is something I struggle with. Some senior moments as well, for sure. Where you're like thinking, "Oh yeah, this is happening," and then it doesn't happen, and then you start just kind of clicking buttons and stuff. So I have those moments every so often, but I am generally able to stop myself before a complete disaster. I have been a little bit more aggressive on combines recently, purely because I don't, unless I'm testing something new, I don't find it beneficial for myself to kind of stay in a combine for a month. Because all of the setups are still the same, all of my playbooks are still the same, so I don't have some big ritual anymore. I tried to have a coffee, and if the only time that's different is if I have something big going on in my life, like for example when my dog died, my first dog died in 2020, that did affect me, and I took out probably 2 months before I was ready to come back to trading. Because every time I would sit down, I would see either his toy or, his photo, and then I was bawling my eyes out. And I was like, well, I can't trade from this state, can I? It's just ridiculous. So I would make sure that I'm not trading when I'm being emotional. Luckily, I'm not that emotional. And after so many years in this game, I just don't really care about bad days anymore. So I don't know, that I think gives you a lot of freedom. Stop connecting your self-worth to your P&L. That's like the biggest takeaway. Everybody's still learning. Markets are an ever-changing environment that is always in flux. So even if you think you've got it, you're effectively got a piece of the puzzle. And maybe you've seen a few puzzles, but there's always something that's going to change where you will still need to adapt. And during the period of adaptation, a drawdown is almost inevitable. So one of the reasons why I was successful during tariff madness is because I've seen that before. We had it for a different reason. It was COVID, but I did really well in COVID by expanding my stop losses, expanding my risk, lowering my risk in like position size wise, but then maintaining the larger 2 and 3R targets still, which came to like 200 and 300 tick targets. It was insane. And I was like, there's no way this is going to hit. And then it would hit. I was like, okay, so we're in one of those again. Cool. But yeah, don't think that someday you're going to wake up, you're going to have it all figured out. The markets will find a way to humble you. And at this point, it's just a part of the game. It's all a part of the game. I'm also a huge proponent of keeping your day job and also maybe having a contracting job that can, get you through the drawdown periods. Because no one is perfect. Nobody just goes up, up, and up. There's always going to be fluctuations in the market. So we're all on a learning journey. This is why we do this. No one on TopstepTV is going to tell you that trading is easy, because it isn't. It's actually one of the most difficult things that you will do in life. You're you versus you. And then once you sort that part out, you are basically looking at the ever-changing market conditions. So you have to be okay with that. I'm going to leave you with that for now. I'm going to be on Lunchbox Trading today later on. So yeah, we'll see what happens. This DAX is still nicely sort of falling. Had a bit of a wiggle upside. So yeah, we'll see. So my target, 24,426. The plan is, if we keep the single prints, which I'm going to tell you where they are. So this is my invalidation. And also maybe a time when I might actually move my stop somewhere. Just because we have ECB, I don't want to be... And I'm not going to be into trading into the ECB either. So if we go and hold above 24,506, that will be the invalidation of this trade. Otherwise, we can just stay in, or I can... Well, why am I saying we? Who's we? Me and D. Talking in plural. So yeah, we'll see whether this hits. I'm making a public plea, if Michael ever sees this, please man, bring DAX, because it's very difficult without it. Very difficult. Either that, or we, I don't know, change the time of Euro trade for a little bit later, because 9:30 till 11 was supposed to be the time when DAX is moving, and anything else is very, very sketchy for that time of the day. If I'm going to trade metals, I would rather trade it from 11:30 till 1, and then you can have the main broadcast. So maybe that's some conversations that I need to have with them eventually. But yeah, I would really love it if they bring DAX, because you can see DAX much more directional, smoother. Tried one trade and it went my way, so it's like, painful. Anyways, have a good day. This has been the Euro trade. Let's hope we get DAX. That's all I'm gonna say. All I'm gonna say. Hey, it rhymes. I'll see you a bit later. Have a great day. That's all from me.